Hello, first of all I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that did the 2019 sampler quilt along. That was the first time I'd done anything like that, so I was a bit nervous about it. Wasn't sure quite how it was going to go. When I do quilts I tend to do it organically, so trying to do something and sticking to the plan was also a challenge. When we were discussing about doing another one for next year, I wasn't quite sure what to do. But then back in November, middle of November, went on a quilting retreat. And there we were doing, somebody was demonstrating a disappearing 16 patch block. So got me thinking. So some of the blocks that we did in our sampler quilt were some of the basic building blocks of other quilts. They're used to build up patterns. So I thought what I would do is take the theme of one of those blocks and see what we could do with it. So if you can see behind me, you will probably see this block here will give it away. We're looking at 9 patch blocks, and I'm going to call it variations on a 9 patch. That's because each of the 9 patches included, we've got 12. They're all different in different ways. So we've got 6 that have been manipulated and 6 that are using just colour and colour values to change them. So let me see, got me planning. Different from last year, I've actually done some blocks beforehand. Now the quilt that you see, well, it's still in blocks. I'm going to start sewing that together shortly. This has just been made from diving into my fabric scraps and my fat quarters. I've not bought anything new to go in it. So it's quite an eclectic mix. For each block I've just picked fabrics to go together to make them. Some of them you're going to have to think about your values, because they're going from dark to medium to light. And that's going to change the way that some of the blocks are going to be made. Now, for when it comes to doing the tutorials for the blocks, I've picked out, got a stack of fat quarters I think that I got given in purples and lilacs in various patterns. Some of it's a white base with flowers on. So I think I'm going to use that as the basis for the next one for doing the tutorials. So as you can see, we're also using setting squares. We're going to put them on point. Now the reason I did that, and I know a lot of people feel scared about doing this. In our last quilt we did blocks that were cut on the bias, so you've got no problem with that. It's only the edging ones that we're cutting in half, and those blocks, if you follow the same procedures as we did before, start your blocks, don't stretch it as you sew in, you'll be fine. And even though the quilt blocks are on point, we actually join them in straight lines. So as long as you keep an eye over where your blocks are and what direction that you're joining in, you won't have a problem. Taking a photo is definitely a good idea. Taking photos of some of the blocks that we're going to do as you're working along might help as well, just so you can keep track of which blocks were where. I had to double guess myself a couple of times. So what we're going to do it over 12 months. So January we're going to do one of the basic blocks. February and March will be the manipulated blocks. April 2 basic. May and June 2 of the manipulated blocks. July 2 basic. August and September, they're going to be manipulated blocks. October, we're going to cut the filler blocks. November, we're going to sew it together, and December we can quilt it and bind it. So not too heavy schedule. I'm going to try and do as much as I can to get ahead of myself this year to make that easier. So I do hope you enjoy it. I'm going to sew this together and then I'll just sit and work out sort of a rough idea of fabric requirements. And if you're going to do what I've done here and go through your fabric fat quarters, your fabric scraps, then obviously that's going to be different. Some of the blocks you only need one block of each colour. So that's an introduction to what we're doing. What I'll do is I'll put links up for the group that you can join in. I'll also set up an email list as well, so that you can get the details in email. I'll do again what I've done this year. You have a link on the website for the blocks, or you can come into the group here on Facebook and those blocks will be in there too. So I look forward to seeing your fabric choices. I look forward to seeing those of you that are you're going to change it up a bit. I know some of you changed the size last year. So I look forward to 2020 and our variations on a 9 patch. Speak soon.